Does this sound like you? You started a talking stage with someone new. They seem attentive. They're saying all the right things. And after some time has passed, maybe a few weeks or sometimes just a few days, you start to feel like they took over your brain. And it feels like it's in a good way, but over time, you're not so sure. You're constantly thinking about them. You think this is exciting. It feels like true chemistry. It feels special. You were having amazing conversations. You were talking about your futures. Maybe you went on some dates together that were really special. Maybe it was all over the phone. It doesn't really matter. Regardless, you were really enjoying your time with them. You start to imagine what the relationship could become, what you could be together, what you could do together, how you can help this person achieve their goals and feel better about themselves and get to where they want to be, because they shared with you all of the things that were kind of disappointing about their life and you thought you could help. You overanalyze every detail that you know about them. Maybe you're even doing research about things they really like, or you started reading books they recommended. And without noticing it, you get emotionally invested in someone who, when you're being completely and truly honest with yourself, has not actually earned your investment. At first, it felt like you were constantly floating. It felt light and fun and exciting about the future. But after some time passes and the communication from them starts to change and dip a bit, because you can't keep up that breakneck pace of communication forever, that floating feeling gets replaced by a feeling like you just missed a step while walking down the stairs. It feels like you're constantly on the state of falling. You don't know if you're going to catch yourself. It feels really precarious. It used to feel hopeful, and now you're at the point where you feel like you lost control of yourself and your thoughts and your feelings. As a result of that, you start doing things that you just can't explain. You're checking your phone constantly. You're checking their social media. You may be overanalyzing their behavior, even if what they said or did was subtle or seemingly insignificant. Why are they looking at your stories but not texting you back? Why are they tweeting but they haven't reached out to you yet and they don't want to talk to you? You feel so anxious all of the time because they pulled back, and you are desperate for the slightest bit of relief. And so when they give you even the smallest amount of attention, you feel like you can breathe again. And you're hopeful that things will get back to the way they were in the beginning when they were giving you that attention before, but it never does. And you feel insane. If I just described you, welcome to the world of limerence. It is the bad place. I'm sorry. You feel like you are losing your damn mind when your emotional state is tied to the behavior of someone you barely know. And it becomes even worse when that person does not actually care about your well-being. In my experience, and the experience of people I've helped with this, usually limerence happens when that person who was giving you a flood of attention, love bombing as they call it in the beginning, pulls away suddenly. And so that dopamine hit that you were getting over and over and over again during that attentive period is gone, and you're trying to get it back. So they really are not expressing that they care about you at all. By definition, limerence is mostly happening when that person pulls away somehow. Things are different. And I'm going to let you in on a secret that took me years to figure out. This has nothing to do with this other person. I want to assure you, you're not being dramatic, you're not being needy, you're not too sensitive or too emotional. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is actually doing something very smart that is serving a very specific purpose for you. And I'm going to break down exactly what that is. I experienced the worst limerence many, many years ago for a boy who did not care about me at all. And I never wanted to experience that again. So I spent about a year figuring out what the hell happened to me. And now I'm going to share what I learned with you. And I have an exercise that can give you the stepping stones to gain some clarity about your experience. We're going to walk through that at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around. There's also a freebie attached if you sign up for my newsletter. If you're new here, hi, my name is Charlotte, and I help women who are sick and tired of caring so much about the people in their lives, but never feeling cared for back. My videos will help you recognize the patterns you don't even know you have. It is all about building awareness around your behavior and then adjusting accordingly. Now, let me explain what is actually happening here. Like I said, this is not about this other person at all. It can't be, because you don't know them. You haven't really known them long enough or seen them in action to get a good picture of who they are. The idea that you can't stop thinking about someone you don't know very well suggests that you're using this person as a placeholder. This isn't about them as a person. It's about what their behavior represents to you. Okay, so why are we doing this? I have a feeling that you confuse attention with intimacy. Speaking from personal experience, I wouldn't say I had an abusive childhood by any means, But it took me a while to realize that I experienced emotional neglect as a kid. My parents were not equipped to meet my needs emotionally. We just were too different. They didn't understand what I was going through. They were dealing with their own stuff. I felt very emotionally adrift in my childhood. And I felt like I was all on my own and I had to figure out my very scary and difficult feelings by myself. What I really needed was someone to be attuned to my struggles, and there was no one around me that could help. So for a long time, as I moved into adulthood, any sense of warmth I got from another person felt really special, even if it was simple attention, like bare minimum stuff. And that was my brain confusing attention with intimacy. I attached to people before I had enough data about them because I was so hungry for closeness that my brain rushed the process of building intimacy. And what I had to realize is that this obsession I was forming around this person had nothing to do with them. It was about soothing me. They offered me a distraction, and I was using them as structure in a weird way. I was experiencing this constant hit of dopamine over and over again whenever he would give me some attention, even if it was nothing, even if it was like the smallest amount of attention, like a hello or a LOL or a liked comment or whatever. So once in a while, I would get these crumbs and they would help me feel okay for a bit, but we can't live off of crumbs. That's not real intimacy. We're gonna stay hungry. This is a classic experience for people who have some sort of insecure attachment style. So that's anxious attachment or avoidant attachment or disorganized attachment. They mistake dopamine rushes for love. And yeah, even avoidants have this problem. It's not just anxious people or disorganizedly attached people. And if this video is resonating with your experiences, odds are you have fearful avoidant tendencies or anxious reactive tendencies. That's where my audience usually falls. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you can check out this video on my page where I give you a 40-minute detailed breakdown about attachment style. There's also a safety component to this. And what do I mean by that? You are essentially bonding with this person through your imagination. Like I said, you have created a fantasy around them using the limited information that you do have, and you're filling in the blanks. And the reason you feel more comfortable doing this, filling in the blanks, rather than getting to know someone over time, slowly, as is the healthiest way to do it, is because real people that have flaws and may have emotions that you don't know how to deal with, they're going to disappoint you or leave you feeling unpredictable in the relationship and maybe even feel dangerous to you. So I would say the people who have fears of neglect or abandonment in their relationships are kind of preoccupied by this idea of getting their partner to be obsessed with them, to get their partner to be okay with anything that they do, because that means if they do the worst thing ever, the partner will never leave them. And so a lot of content creators will make these videos like how to get him obsessed with you. And what that is really doing is bypassing the slow process of building intimacy in a way that's healthy and that you can build upon foundationally. You are trying to skip over that part when you want someone who's obsessed with you. You don't want to sit in the uncertainty that it may not work out. They may leave. They may not be interested. You don't want to have to think about that possibility because a real person scares the crap out of you. And honestly, coming to this revelation for myself is what made me realize the reason I was meeting unavailable people to date is because I was unavailable myself. I didn't want a real person. I wanted a sure thing. And that doesn't exist. It really doesn't. You have to sit in the uncertainty of not knowing where something's going to go, how someone might react. You can't predict everything. You have to take it as it comes. Real connection needs to be slow and it requires vulnerability. And I think a lot of people struggle to understand what it means to be vulnerable. It seems like a lot of people today, in the dating sphere at least, what I see online, conflate vulnerability with sex. On its own, sex is not intimacy. You have to have the intimacy there separately. And they also conflate vulnerability with over disclosure, right? Like revealing your entire trauma history on the second date. That's not vulnerability. That's not how you get to know someone in a way that's going to sustain the relationship. You're kind of trying to throw out all of the worst things about you, either because you think that's what makes you special. I see that a lot. Or you may think, if I get the worst of it out of the way, if I tell them everything bad that's ever happened to me and they don't run away, then I'm safe. And that's not true. Now, you may not realize you've created a fantasy of this person. It may feel like you know them very well, but you probably don't. This fantasy is giving you a false sense of control, and that control is what's comforting you. You feel like you can control their behavior based on how you behave, and you can do things to get them to react to you. You are attaching to a fantasy because fantasies will not abandon you. The person in your head will not abandon you because you're refusing to see who they really are. And at the very least, in a lot of situations, that person is someone who does not want to get to know you or invest time into you. They are giving you crumbs. They're giving you the bare minimum, and you're making it out to be a feast. It's not. So let's take your first actionable step to rewrite this fantasy. I made you a free template in Google Sheets that you can use if you want to sign up for my newsletter, but it's a very simple template. You can write this on a piece of paper if you prefer that. So in this first column, we're going to list everything we know about this person. What do we think we know about them? What assumptions are we making about them? If someone asked you to describe their character, what would you say? How do you think they feel about you? You're going to write down everything you think you know about them. And I gave you some examples in the sheet. Once you do that, in the second column, you're going to have to write down where you got that idea from. So for every claim, you have to ask yourself, what is the primary source for this belief? Which another way of putting that is, did I witness this behavior consistently from them? Why do I believe this about them? What is my evidence? And this is going to be a rude awakening for some of you. A lot of times our brains play little tricks on us and connect the dots that we want to connect, but in reality, they're not real. Those dots don't exist. Let me give you an example. If you feel like you have a deep connection with this person, and your evidence of that is this one night you stayed up talking until 2 a.m. on FaceTime and you felt so good, it felt so magical. That could be what you write in your evidence column. Now we get to the third column, and you're going to ask yourself, is that sufficient evidence that you have a deep connection? If this is someone you don't really know that well, a lot of your experiences are going to be one-off, and this is one of them. A one-time intense conversation is not a deep connection. It is a one-time thing. And then in my spreadsheet, in big bold colors, you can label whether something is a fantasy or reality in the fourth column. So the reason I did that is so you can see how much of it stacks up to fantasy versus reality in one glance. Now let's compare this fantasy one to something that I would label reality. Let's say a woman in a healthy relationship felt like this guy she's dating is self-aware, and her evidence is, after we had a small disagreement, he initiated a follow-up conversation the next day and told me that he realized why he shut down is because he was embarrassed and it's something he's been working on. He apologized. He said he wanted to be better about it. And that to her is a sign that he is able to reflect on his own behavior. He's able to name his pattern and take accountability without me prompting it. Even though it's a one-off, it's very detailed. He had some insight and he communicated it. He took responsibility, which to her equals self-awareness. So for now, that assumption about him is based in reality. There is evidence there that this is true about him. Now, as time goes on, and this is why you need to go slowly with people, she may realize that that was a one-off thing, or he was being manipulative. People's behavior will change the longer you have interactions with them, especially in that first 3 months. People change dramatically over time because so many of us are on our best behavior, and it doesn't necessarily have to be manipulative in the beginning. It's just we want other people to like us. Sometimes it can be manipulative. In the beginning, they do really small things that may push your boundaries, but you let them go because you don't know them very well and you're just sort of watching and observing. But over time, you're going to see patterns if you pay attention to them. And that is why getting more information and going slowly is very important. I want you to fill out as many things as you can in this list and see how much is based in reality and how much is fantasy in that fourth column. And this will give you a cognitive wake-up call that you need to remind yourself when your body is going haywire, when you're waiting for them to do something or respond to you, or you're thinking about them again and all that stuff. I don't want you to expect that you can overwrite your feelings just by sheer willpower. You can't really. Like, this is going to take some time for it to dissipate, but you can remind yourself of what you have shown yourself here. Like you need to use your brain, your meta awareness, to say, hey, my body's having an emotional reaction right now. I know cognitively what is happening, and I can make different choices. I don't have to listen to my feelings. People want my YouTube videos to like fix their problems, and they won't. What I will give you is awareness of your patterns if you're willing to accept it. And a lot of people aren't. They have resistance to some of the analysis I give them about what could be possibly going on. So I don't want you to think that this exercise is going to make you snap out of your limerence. Odds are it won't, but it will help you build awareness. And that awareness has the ability to help you with somatic of the body processing. These feelings are trapped in your physical body, and you almost have to go through a whole damn exorcism to release them. A lot of us just simply do not want to be in touch with our body. We don't want to pay attention to our bodies, and therefore we do not want to control our feelings in a way that's somatic. And we don't know how to release our feelings as a result of it. Because you can get a quick dopamine hit if they respond to you, but you have to sit in these horrible feelings if you're trying to release them from your life. This other person, you're letting them go because you understand that they're not actually what you need. This is what it looked like for me, this process. I had a mental breakdown one day because like he just didn't care, and I realized it. And so I sent him a cringy 5-paragraph essay text about all of the ways that he hurt me. And I don't recommend doing that. I wish I didn't feel compelled to do it, but I understand why people in that vulnerable position need to do it. I think writing it is helpful, but sending it felt like it felt desperate, and it felt beneath me. It felt like I was begging him. And I knew he wasn't going to reply, but it's not the end of the world. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The next thing I did was I immediately blocked him. And that's what you have to do. You have to immediately block the person. And then I randomly ugly cried about him for a month or so until I gradually started to feel less attached to him. It's gradual. It will slowly feel less urgent, because when I finally allowed myself to feel my feelings and I wasn't distracting myself with trying to win his favor, I was actually able to stay in reality and with myself and realize that the feelings were going to pass. And whenever I give my friends the advice to block and let yourself ugly cry, oh, they hate it. They hate it. They don't want to feel the thing. But that's literally the entire problem, isn't it? We're avoiding our feelings. And that's why we're being driven to this obsession. So now that you know why your brain is doing this, you need to understand how to handle a crash out. So I recommend you watch this video next, where I walk you through that step by step. And you can sign up for my newsletter or my one-on-one coaching if you want some more from me. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.